Hello and welcome to our live listeners and also those that are watching this after the fact on demand. I'm Elisa Garn, founder and CEO of Level Next, and joining me today is one of our mentors, Jordan Boogaard. Whoa, Boogaard, excuse me. Jordan, welcome. Please tell us a little bit about yourself.
Come on, Elisa Garn. How long have we known each
Oh my
other?
gosh. As somebody that gets her name messed up all the time, you'd think I'd be better at that.
No worries. Awesome. No, excited to hang out with you for a little bit today. But yeah, my name's Jordan Boogaard. I live in Draper with my beautiful wife, Erica. Together we have 4 kids. I'm obsessed with them. So my oldest loves football and basketball. My girls do cheer. And then my 5-year-old Max thinks he can keep up with everyone. So in regards to business-wise, I've kind of been in the payroll and HR space most of my career. Even though that's not where I originally wanted to be, I always wanted to do medical sales. And so I actually did that for a short stint and realized how volatile that market was and went back to the payroll and HR space. But I worked at ADP, opened up 3 states for Heartland. I even started my own payroll and HR company. And then 3 years ago next month, I merged with Eddie and I've been there and loved it. It's been awesome. So that's me in a
Yeah,
nutshell.
and we met, we met when you were, it was with the company that you started, the payroll company that you created, and I was still working in HR at the time, so it was probably I don't know, business development meeting for you. But I
Okay.
remember we went to Costa Vida,
Oh
and
yeah.
we were, and I remember that they didn't have the meat that I wanted, and you like it was a point of contention for you while we were standing in line. Like you mentioned something about how disappointed you were that we came to a place and I wasn't even able to get what I wanted for lunch. So there's my founding memory with Jordan.
I guess it holds true. I'm a people pleaser, so I was trying to make you happy, and it didn't work out, so I was frustrated. But
You are a people pleaser, which I think is interesting, you know, in starting a business and working in sales. And I think it even plays out in some of your, I don't know if I'd call it hobbies, but I know that you started doing the hashtag, how can I help you a couple years ago. So what spurred that? Like, why did you start doing that?
I don't even remember how it originally started. But if I were to kind of think back and guess, um, when I worked at ADP, I was kind of sick and I hated cold calling, right? And so, like, part of my interview process at ADP was on my second interview, there were like 4 people. We had to go in and sit down, and they gave us a list of like 100 companies, and we had to cold call them and see who could win, right? That's how we kind of got the job partially. And so then, obviously, if that's how the interview started, there was a ton of cold calling included at ADP. And I just kind of got sick of it. I'm like, there's got to be a better way, right? And so I started partnering with like CPAs, banks, and things like that. And then I realized like, everyone has to eat lunch. And so I started taking people to lunch. And after a while, like I was just going and playing that people pleaser role, right? Of like, how can I help you? And that kind of came up in a conversation. And then when I would start posting about it and put that hashtag on LinkedIn, I realized that as I tried to focus and help other people, that karma came back to me and people tried to help me as well. And so I just love that concept that the more I help other people, it helps me win too, and we can all win together. So I love it. But
Oh,
yeah.
I love that too. And you adapt it during the month of May, right? That's kind of an extra special month for how may I help you. Is there anything that is different about that, or is it just kind of a fun, like, play on the month words?
It was my buddy Greg that he said, "You're always trying to help people find jobs, and it's May." He's like, "You should change your hashtag in the month of May to how may I help you, and just focus the entire month on helping people." And so I did that probably 4 years ago, and it produced great results. I mean, I started highlighting people and connecting with like whoever I could within my network. And I think like 18 people got jobs that month from me just highlighting and trying to connect in that way. And so now I've committed to every month of how may I help you and just trying to point people in the right direction and spotlight them and find that next career move. So it's been fun.
That is so awesome. I love like the fact that you even can, I love that about LinkedIn too, is, you kind of get some of that access of seeing that exposure and some of that impact. But 18 people, I mean, the ripple impact of just that 1 month from just those efforts, and the ripple impact of how that's influenced people's lives, not only their families' lives and potentially even in their communities. So I think that's a really cool thing to share, and definitely a testament of the JB that I get to know and love as well. So
Me too, kind
but
of.
what's interesting, so when we talk about mentorship, for me, one of the greatest benefits that I personally had from mentorship is when you connect with the person and you establish this trust and invest in the relationship. And a lot of times, what naturally ends up happening is you have this mentor who is now evolving into a sponsor, somebody that's willing to make introductions or provide resources. It takes a more intentional turn of more of a how can I proactively support you instead of what typically happens in mentorship, which is more reactive of guidance. So with you, I'd love to know. I mean, it sounds like you do this naturally, this sponsorship, even without having that connection. But how have you seen that evolve in your career? Like, do you feel like there was a point in time or an experience you had where you saw the opportunity that you had to start sponsoring others and helping in a way that was, leveraging network or whatever that looked like? Or is it just kind of happened more organically?
Yeah, honestly, I would say it's happened like 100% organically, and I don't think I've even realized it until recently of what kind of impact it's made on some people. I had an individual take me to lunch, invite me, and it was great. And he was sitting there, and he's like, "Hey, I'm starting this, networking thing, and I've invested in this company and doing this." And he's like, "Since you're an influencer on LinkedIn," I'm like, "Wait, what? I'm not an influencer on LinkedIn." I'm like, "What are you talking?" He was like, "Well, whether you like it or not," he said, "you have thousands of followers, and there are tons of people that they may not comment or like it, but you're talked about in the background." And so it really impacted me because my goal is just to try and get out there and help as many people as possible, right? And so I found that the more I do that, the better I feel, just because that's a win for me if I help someone else win. And it's been really interesting because it's just really happened over the last like 6 months to a year that I've realized that, hey, I can make a bigger impact. And so I'm trying to focus on that and see what I can do at even a higher level. So
Yeah. Well, even in the comments, like I know that we both know Thane and Blake really well, but they've both commented, which I think is a testament of what you're talking about too. Like, I don't know anybody that doesn't like Jordan. Like, you're just always so good about rolling with the punches, happy to help. I remember you even helped, I think, with Disrupt HR when we started bringing that series to the Salt Lake Valley,
yeah,
right? And that was really cool too, to get you involved in that. And I think also deepened our relationship and getting to know each other. And it was really nice to see. I think sometimes we hold people a little bit at arm's length of what's your agenda in trying to help me, and like what's your angle and what are you wanting to get out of this. And it doesn't take long with you to understand that it truly is just your authentic nature of just wanting other people to succeed, and all boats rise with high tides kind of stuff. And I think that's really a true testament of who you are. So you mentioned like you're obsessed with your kids. You have this cute family that you've got in Draper, Utah. You have had, I don't even know how many roles at Eddie HR and the startup, done a little bit of everything over the years.
yeah.
Tell me a little bit about like hobbies, like outside of your family and work. What are you doing to depressurize, or to fill your cup in other ways?
Yeah, obviously, first and foremost, family is what I'm obsessed with. Football, basketball with my son. My girls do cheerleading and travel around the country and do that. And my daughter last year won the national championship, was kind of cool.
Oh, cool.
And so that's super fun. But the way I function, the way I work is I have to. I'm like super structured. So like mornings from like 5:30 to 8, that's Jordan time, and that's where I love to go work out or go mountain biking. I would say that's probably my biggest obsession is mountain biking. And then from 8 to 5 is work time, and then 5 to 10 is back to family time. And so I found that if I can maintain that structure and stick to it as close as possible, that keeps me happy. It's my stress reliever. It lets me decompress when I'm out on the trails and mountain biking. And like right now is the absolute most beautiful time of the year with the fall and the colors. And so, but yeah, no, I would say mountain biking, I guess, is my passion outside of work.
Yeah, and I think you're in a great place for that. I know that Draper, for those that aren't in the area of Utah, Draper is a bit of a southern suburb of Salt Lake proper. And when they developed that particular part of the city, I know that it was a really big monetary investment for them to build out many, many mountain biking trails that we're fortunate in Utah, I think, to have. Just the mountains are literally our backyard. I mean, from my front door, I probably have
Mhm.
access to 17 trailheads within a mile.
So
But
awesome.
mountain biking, I think, was one of those that it's really been more popularized in the area. And so you have even taken the idea and concept of mountain biking in a way to connect with other people. So it's you do it on your own, but you recently started this group. So tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so obviously I'm a huge connector. I love to network. I've been involved in many networking groups. I'm in several right now. But when you sit around a table and you get to know each other, it's fun, right? But it's a million times more fun if you're out on the trail and biking and you get to slow down a little bit and be able to like actually breathe at a regular rate and have a conversation. And so I came up with the concept of like, hey, let's invite a couple of people and see if they want to go mountain biking. And this was just probably over 2 years ago. And all of a sudden, like those people are like, "Hey, when are we going to do this again?" I'm like, "Well, whenever you want. Like, I'm on the trails 4 or 5 days a week. Let's do this, right?" And that turned into like we did a trip down to Moab, and I brought Alex Beam from Divi, and it was really neat. We had like this little like fireside. We sat around a table, like 20 dudes, and we just kind of talked it out about how he got bought out by Bill.com, and he shared all of his secrets, and it kind of turned into like a mastermind, which I wasn't even planning it to be. I was just trying to get people out and experiencing mountain biking and like talking about work and having fun and network together. But it was just so powerful. And so we get done with that trip, and also I'm like, hey, when are people doing this? When are we going to do a trip again? And so that's kind of where the name Network and Pedal got came out. And right now we're actually building a website, and so people can sign up and schedule their own rides and invite people to do it, and just kind of make it fun for everyone. So and not just in Utah, because obviously I live here, but people have reached out from Colorado, California, even Rhode Island. I had a guy come in from Rhode Island and did a ride with us because he was in Utah, so that was pretty neat. But
That is
yeah, it's been
awesome.
fun. So
That's very cool. I know that for a while I was doing what I called connect working hikes, and
yeah,
then the way of entrepreneurship is you have to pick your battles and your priorities. So I haven't been able to do that as much this year, but I've had very similar experiences in those as well, where sometimes people show up and I'm surprised that they're in town just for the hike because
yeah,
like you travel for work or whatever, you're going to be coming through, or you're looking for things to do, and it was always really cool to have those additional attendees, come in and out, because I think that you and I are both uh, pretty active in our network here locally in Salt Lake and
yeah,
Lehigh, and parts of Utah. But having the opportunity to connect and really start to grow a network outside, I feel like is one of the benefits that COVID brought to people like us, where it was like, okay, well, we kind of, we can find our people that still want to get together during all of this craziness, but it also provided opportunity to start branching out and making those connections even with other people outside the state. So for you, knowing how involved you are with sports and your kids' activities and the cheerleading that takes you all over. Is this something like when you go to other cities, do you find yourself looking for things to do while you're there in that kind of respect? Or are you more of a homebody when you're traveling?
I mean, I guess that's I don't know. I'm probably more of a homebody, but I think usually when I'm traveling, it's with family. I don't do very much business travel with my position at Eddie. I think if I did have business travel, I'd probably look out and find ways to get out and go hiking or biking with people. And so that's kind of what Network and Pedal is going to be actually in the future. You'll be able to I've found a way to integrate it with Strava and LinkedIn. And so if you were traveling to Colorado, you could actually go and like search the people that live in that area that you're trying to connect with and see if there are any rides that they're attending or anything like that. Or you could build your own ride and invite them to that event. And so it could be mountain biking, it could be hiking. And so, anyways, that's kind of the idea behind it. And hopefully more to come with that in the near future. But I got to give you a shout out. I know you're asking me questions, but your reach in Utah is obviously incredible. But I don't know if you know how powerful your reach is outside of Utah. You did a post for us at Eddie one time, and it was probably 2 3 years ago, and there was a gal from Florida that immediately after you posted it, she reached out to Eddie, and she's like, if Elisa Garn says Eddie's great, then I'm in, right? And so she actually obviously signed up for Eddie and just kind of fell in love with the software. But from there, she went recently to the Tim Tebow Foundation, big football player, right? And so she brought Eddie to them as well. And so it's just really cool that the things that you've done as well on your side outside of Utah have helped me. And so I just want to say thank you for that. But yeah, it's pretty powerful what LinkedIn can do. I mean, one post, you never know who's going to see it or where it's going to go. But you're making huge impacts as well. So I want to throw it out there.
Oh, typical JB fashion. Pass it back with gratitude to the other person. I appreciate that. Thank you. I think was it Eva? Was that who you're
Yeah,
talking about? Yeah,
yeah, yeah. She's awesome.
she's been a delight. I'll have to give her a special tag on here so she knows that we got to talk about her in our conversation today. It's been a
I
while
love it.
since we've caught up. Okay, so I have like you are fellow entrepreneur. You discovered it much earlier in your career than I did. For me, like I always tell people, I figured it out probably around fourth, fifth grade when I started bringing all of my toys to school and selling them to my friends. By the way, 100% profit. I had zero overhead because my parents bought
Nice
all those
work.
toys. So
Yeah.
it's a really great business model, and I wish I could replicate it today. Other than theft, I don't know how to figure that out. But it took me a while in my professional career as an adult to tap into, for one, just embracing the risk that comes with it, embracing the ups and downs and the excitement and the anxieties. But for you, you did this much earlier in your career. So I'm curious, like when you made that jump from, ADP, you're working for large enterprise company, cog in the wheel of sorts, but finding a lot of success into the decision that you had a family at the time. Like, how did you both psychologically and then just, like through tactical nature, make that shift from, company man to starting your own thing? Like, what was that like for you?
Yeah, it's an interesting question because honestly, like when I was a kid, my dad was an entrepreneur. He owned like furniture stores. When I was 13 years old, he owned a floor cleaning store, and we cleaned like 100 plus stores from like Payson up to Ogden. I get up at 4 a.m. and go clean stores at 11 o'clock at night till 1 a.m. So I kind of grew up in that lifestyle of what entrepreneurs do, and so that's kind of where I experienced it. And I think deep down I always wanted to be an entrepreneur, but I'm a wimp. I was just super scared to jump out on 2 feet and make it happen, right? I think that's what a lot of entrepreneurs are scared about. And so I was super fortunate and blessed when I was working at Heartland and running their division for 3 states. I was working with some of my sales reps, and there was an insurance broker, and we saw one of their producers that was kind of struggling, and so we're like, hey, let's help this guy out. Let's help him win. And so we just fed him leads like almost daily, and we took him from making like $80,000 a year up to like 140,000, which in the insurance world doesn't happen overnight. And this happened like in 3 months. And so the owner of the company found out about it, and he's like, who's this person or who are these people that are giving this guy leads? And he did his research and kind of stalked me for a little bit and found out that it was me. And it was crazy because he took me to lunch one day with a couple of his executives. And at the end of the lunch, I mean, this is an hour and a half lunch. He goes, hey, I've always wanted to start a payroll company. You're my guy. And I'm like, wait, what? And like, I'm your guy. Like, you barely know me. Like, we've had one lunch together. And so, yeah, he's like, I'll pay for it. You build it out. You're going to do everything. He's like, I'm just the money guy. But I think we could have a great collaboration. You can get us insurance lead. We can get you payroll leads, and we could really work well together. And so I jumped in with 2 feet a couple weeks later and started payroll HR solutions. And so I was again, like I said, I was super blessed and lucky. It was kind of from all my networking and things of helping other people that I got the opportunity to start my own company. And it was awesome because we did it for 2 years, and it was, I wouldn't say we were like uber successful, but we were really close to making profitability. And that's when I ran into Travis Hansen and actually at Disrupt HR, one of the ones that followed after our event. But yeah, we became friends and ended up merging, and now I'm at Eddie and helping build that out, and it's been awesome. But yeah, I was kind of thrown into entrepreneurism, but I'm
Mhm.
super glad I was because now you get the bug and the itch, and you want to do more, right? So
It's so hard to work for other people once you've done it on your own. Like, not that, I mean, I think it's possible. A lot of people
yeah,
try it out and realize that maybe it's not the best fit for them, and they transition back. But I've thought a lot about that, especially in the down times of like, man, I have a lot more appreciation working for the man now. Like just the comfort of knowing you have that steady paycheck and there's going to be bad days, but there's usually a lot more moderate to good days.
Yeah,
And I'm curious again, like, not that I identify you completely as like all you are as an entrepreneur, but
yeah,
I'm curious to know from a, some of the skill sets that you tend to find in successful entrepreneurs and especially serial entrepreneurs that do it over and over and over again. Where do you feel I think that you have to always have a confidence, of
yeah.
course, like you have to be able to believe in yourself. But where is the line between a confidence and an arrogant approach to starting a business? Like for you, somebody that I've seen it, and you even talked and shared some examples today about your ability to really just like almost approach problems with a curiosity of asking enough questions to get to potential solutions, a lot of creativity in that. But I think that that takes a certain level of humility rather than coming in with, again, that more maybe arrogant side of thinking you have all of the answers. So for you, just from your lens and those that you've worked with in this space, where do you feel like that line is between a true confidence in yourself, not a fake it till you make it confidence, but
Yeah.
like really believing in yourself with the arrogance of maybe getting in your own way with, not knowing some of your blind spots?
Yeah, it's interesting because I mean, just going off like a million thoughts going through my head right now, but like I really am like I'm an employee at Eddie. Like I've had multiple roles, but right now, like I've kind of carved out my perfect position. Like I'm helping a ton with partnerships in Utah, because that's kind of my home base. But I'm a sales guy, right? Like, yeah, I built a company and I merged with Eddie, and that was awesome and everything like that. But I didn't get it like a payout or anything like that, and so I didn't get to experience a true like exit, like people say in this industry. But now I'm at Eddie and I have great opportunities ahead of me. But I'm an employee again, and so as you kind of think about entrepreneurs and what like truly makes them not go into like kind of that arrogant side because it is kind of a fine line. But I would say it's passion. People that have that passion that truly just want to go, whether it's like build a product or sell a service or has some sort of widget that can integrate and help people and they want to go sell it and get the word out there. I think within moments you can really tell if someone has that passion about it. And if not, and they're just doing it for the money, I think that it reveals itself pretty quickly as well. And so, passion, I guess, would be the key word that I would use for that.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree with that. I think it's been, and it's also just fun to work with people like
Yeah.
entrepreneurs. If you're an employee looking to join, maybe it's still, even as an employee, sometimes it's risky signing up to go work with a
Yeah.
startup that you might not necessarily be the founder, the entrepreneur that has as much at stake. But even as one of those earlier employees, which you were at
Yeah.
Eddie, you still have to take
Sure.
some of that risk and sacrifice to help build something that doesn't exist. And having the passion for it, I think is definitely critical to getting through the harder times. Well, I know that we are at time, and I want to be respectful of all the things that you need to get done today, which is a lot. But is there anything, just parting advice? A lot of the people that are listening in might be looking at you as a potential mentor. What parting advice would you give to somebody that maybe just feels a little stuck in their career at this point, without knowing fully where to go from
Yeah.
where they are today? What's something that you would share?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, being in the payroll and HR industry for so long, when you go through like the whole hire to fire and understand truly what's happening with a company in regards to like how they're hiring people, their cultures, they're onboarding them, how they're managing their people, how they're doing payroll, and if you get deep and go into the weeds of finance and where they're getting their money from, do they have investors? I've seen it literally thousands of times in helping those clients, and so I would say that it goes back to that answer I gave earlier in regards to passion. But like, if you need help and I can help you in that regards, like on building a business, I've helped people from setting up their LLCs to building out their payroll and HR stuff to helping them find ways to scale and win, and be super successful. And so that's kind of where my passion lies. Is it's not payroll. That's kind of boring, right? It's super commoditized. I could go sell any payroll software system potentially and help you through your workflows and your process and benefits you. Obviously, I'm a believer in Eddie, and that's why I'm here. And I think it's the best software out there for payroll and HR. But if you're like in your career and you're struggling and you want to kind of take to the next level, or you're a business owner and you're stuck and you can't figure out ways to take your, you know, sales to the next level or take your business or your culture to the next level, yeah, I would love to be of service and help there if I can. So I don't know if that's the answer you were looking for, but I mean,
No, it's great. I think that there is no right or wrong answer. You know that. You and I are very unscripted people,
we
Jordan,
are. Yeah.
which we even talked about going into this conversation.
We've
Well,
become
thank
more
you
filtered in
so.
our years, though, I think.
Yeah.
As we've aged, we've gotten more wise in the way we
No,
respond to
yes,
people, so
our crow's feet are just signs of wisdom, as I like to say. I did want to just mention the shout out that Tyler gave you of how much he's enjoyed the networking and pedaling that you've done. So yeah, the impact that you have is massive. I fully believe that you are such an incredible addition to our audience on Level Next. I know that you're working on finalizing your profile and getting set up so you can be connected and available. But again, just thank you so much for spending the time today and letting us see a little bit of the, the wizard behind the curtain, so to speak. And you and I'm sure, will probably be connecting soon. Unlikely on the trails, because I learned early that mountain biking isn't for me, but we'll figure it out another way.
it's supposed to snow this weekend, so
Woo, the
hopefully that
season is
goes away
winding
quickly, but we'll
down.
see. I know it's the cold temps. I looked at the forecast for next week and, like, the highs are, like, 50, but the lows are, like, 21, and I mean, that's
Oh,
winter temps, that's cold, so we'll see
yeah.
what happens. Networking pedaling might be ending here soon, but we'll
You're
obviously
just gonna
bring
have to
it back
start
in
taking it down to
spring,
like the
so
Baja or something.
yeah,
Just
head down to
your
St.
travel
George,
experiences.
go south, yeah, so but no,
All right.
thank you
Well,
so much
thanks again,
for it's
Jordan, for being
always
here.
fun hanging out with
And
you.
yeah, to our audience, tune in next time. But keep an eye out. Jordan's going to be available very soon on levelnext.com. We'll see you next time.
Thanks, Lisa.